Jack Rourke stood in the dusty hallway behind the grand arena. The air smelled of metal and oil, mixed with the faint tang of alien spices drifting in from the crowds. Somewhere beyond the heavy gates, thousands of voices blended into a dull, restless hum. He could almost feel the weight of their expectations pressing against the walls, but none of that filled his mind. Instead, he thought of Claire Dot. It had been almost 2 years since she had left. She'd moved to one of the inner colonies, chasing her dreams of working as a planetary architect. She'd told him they would keep in touch. That distance wouldn't matter. But the messages had slowed, then stopped. Now, when he thought of her, it was like remembering someone from another lifetime. Jack had been many things in his life, miner, mercenary, smuggler, but he'd never been someone who found it easy to say the things that mattered. He had never told Claire just how much she had kept him grounded, how her laugh had cut through the noise of every port and every fight, how losing her had left him feeling like space itself had gotten wider and colder. Now, here he was, in a fight he hadn't even wanted. The invitation had come in the form of a challenge, broadcast to every human in the sector. The champion of the Grand Arena Tsar Corps had declared that no human could last more than 30 seconds against him. Most people had laughed and ignored it. Jack hadn't. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was boredom. Or maybe he just wanted to do something loud enough that Claire might hear about it, even from half a galaxy away. The sound of boots clicking on metal pulled him from his thoughts. A small alien official approached, his skin like pale glass, his voice sharp. 3 minutes, human. Be ready. Jack nodded, but said nothing. He adjusted the wraps around his hands. He didn't need armor. He didn't need a weapon. He only needed one good strike. When the official left, Jack's gaze drifted again. He imagined Claire sitting somewhere in a quiet cafe, reading the news feeds. Would she stop if she saw his name? Would she care enough to watch? Or had she built a whole new life where he was just a shadow from the past? The gates creaked open. Light poured into the hallway, sharp and bright. The noise of the crowd hit him like a wave cheers, laughter, jeers in a dozen alien tongues. He stepped forward slowly, his boots crunching on the arena's gravel floor. ZHAR-KOR. Waited at the far end, towering and broad, 4 arms folded across his chest. The champion's hide was covered in scars, each one a memory of a fight survived. He grinned when he saw Jack, showing rows of jagged teeth. Small, Tsar's translator growled in a deep voice. Weak, you will entertain me for a moment, human. Jack didn't answer. His eyes stayed on Tsar's stance, the way his weight shifted, the twitch of his lower left arm. He could already see the opening, but his heart wasn't in the fight, not yet. As the announcer's voice boomed over the arena, Jack thought again of the day Claire had left. She'd hugged him, told him to take care of himself, and promised to send a message when she arrived. He'd watched her shuttle rise into the pale blue sky until it was just a speck. He hadn't realized that would be the last time he saw her. The signal came. Tsar moved first, charging across the arena with a speed that made the crowd roar. Jack stayed still until the last possible moment, then stepped forward, twisting his body just so. His arm shot out, grabbing Tsar by the lower spine. A single, precise motion, and a sharp, sickening crack rang through the arena. The champion collapsed. Silence fell for a heartbeat, then chaos. The arena erupted with noise, some in shock, others in wild cheers. Jack straightened, his breathing steady. For a moment, he looked up at the holocameras mounted above. Somewhere, across the stars, those images were being sent out. Maybe, just maybe, Claire would see it. He wasn't sure if he wanted her to think he'd changed, or if he wanted her to remember him exactly as he had been, stubborn, reckless, impossible to ignore. Either way, This fight was never just about proving what a human could do. It was about reaching across a distance that felt too wide to cross. The medics rushed to Tsar. Officials shouted for order. But Jack only turned and walked toward the exit, the noise fading behind him. Maybe tomorrow he would try sending Claire a message. Maybe it would just be a simple one. I'm still here. And maybe, just maybe, she would answer. The arena erupted when he broke the champion's spine. With one strike. Asterisk, the crowd's roar still echoed in Jack's ears as he walked down the long metal tunnel leading out of the arena. Every step took him farther from the fight, and closer to the silence he knew too well behind him. The medics worked on Tsar Core, and the officials argued about what had just happened. Ahead, the noise faded, replaced by the hum of the arena's back corridors. A small alien reporter hurried alongside him, her voice recorder floating by her shoulder. "Human Jack Rourke," she said in a sharp, clicking tone. "How does it feel to defeat the champion in one strike?" Jack didn't slow down. It was just a fight. "But no human has ever done this before," she pressed. "The galaxy will remember this day." Jack almost laughed. The galaxy might remember. But he wondered if Claire would. He stepped into a small prep room where his bag waited. It was quiet here, just the soft hum of the air vents. He sat down, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, and for a long moment he just stared at the floor dot. He wanted to send her a message. He wanted to say, "Did you see it? I did something no one thought a human could do." But he also knew how that might sound like he was just showing off. And that wasn't why he wanted to talk to her dot. What he really wanted to say was, "I miss you. I don't know why we stopped talking. I don't know if I said something wrong. But you mattered to me." The door hissed open, breaking his thoughts. It was Rin, a small, fox-like alien, who sometimes worked as his fight broker. "Jack," Rin said, tail flicking nervously, "the council wants to see you." "The council?" Jack frowned. "Why?" "Because you embarrassed their champion." "In front of half the sector," Rin said. "And now they want to know how you did it." Jack sighed. This was the part he didn't care for politics. But he stood, slinging his bag over his shoulder. "Fine, let's get it over with." As they walked, Rin glanced at him. "You seem distracted." Jack didn't answer at first. Then quietly he said, "Do you ever lose someone? Not because they died, just because they went somewhere you couldn't follow?" Rin's ears twitched. "Once," he said simply. "Why?" "No reason," Jack muttered. The council chamber was vast, filled with delegates from a dozen species. They sat in high seats that looked down on him, their faces unreadable. A holographic replay of the fight played in the air above them, slowed down so they could see every movement. "You broke the champion's spine with a single maneuver," one delegate said. "How?" Jack kept his answer short. "I knew where to hit." "That is not an answer," another said. "It's the only one you're getting," Jack replied. His voice stayed calm, but inside he felt the same restless energy that had been building since the fight ended. They could debate his technique all day. He didn't care. What mattered was somewhere out there, on a world far from here. Claire might have seen this. The council dismissed him after more questions that went nowhere. He walked out into the cool night air of the alien city. Above, 3 moons hung in the sky, pale and bright. He pulled a small device from his pocket and stared at it. Her contact code was still there. He hadn't deleted it, though he'd thought about it more than once. He typed a short message, then deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Words felt heavier when they mattered. Finally, he just recorded a voice note. "Hey, it's me. I know it's been a long time. I saw something today that made me think of you. I hope you're doing okay." He paused, then added, "If you get this, maybe we could talk again." His thumb hovered over the send button. He didn't send it. Not yet. Instead, he slipped the device back into his pocket and started walking. Somewhere deep down, Jack knew this wasn't over. The fight had made him a name in the galaxy. There would be more challenges, more arenas, more eyes on him. But all of it felt strangely empty without someone to share it with. That was the thing about humans, he thought. It wasn't enough to win. You needed someone who understood why it mattered to you. And maybe, just maybe, he could still find that again. 4. Now he walked through the city streets, the alien lights casting long shadows. Somewhere far away, Claire was living her life. He didn't know if she ever thought about him anymore, but he thought about her. And that, for now, was enough to keep moving forward. Because even across all the stars, hope was still something humans refused to let go of. The next morning, the city was quiet. The noise of the grand arena had faded into yesterday's news, but the fight still played on repeat in public holoscreens. Everywhere Jack walked, people pointed, whispered, or took pictures. He didn't care about any of it. He cared about the small comm device in his pocket and the unsent voice message. Still sitting there, Jack sat at a cafe on the edge of the spaceport, nursing a cup of something hot and bitter. The alien drink wasn't coffee, but it was close enough to remind him of the mornings he'd shared with Claire back on the frontier. She'd always teased him for drinking it black, saying it matched his personality. Strong, but a little too serious. The memory made his chest ache. He thought about sending the message again. But what if she didn't answer? What if she'd moved on completely? Rourke, a voice said behind him. He turned to see Rin, the fox-like alien broker, sliding into the seat across from him. Rin's tail was twitching, never a good sign. "You've been invited to the Prime Tournament," Rin said. "Only the best fighters in the sector get that call. It's a big deal." Jack shrugged. "Not interested." Rin blinked. "Not? You just beat Zarkor, and you're not interested? This is how humans get noticed in the galaxy. This is how your name will travel." That caught Jack's attention. If his name traveled, maybe it would reach her. Maybe Claire would hear it, see it, remember him. "What's the catch?" Jack asked. "Danger," Rin said simply. "You'll be facing warriors who've never lost. Some fights are to the knockout, others not so clean." Jack sipped his drink. "Send the details." The Prime Tournament was held on a neutral space station the size of a small moon. Ships from dozens of worlds arrived, unloading fighters, merchants, and fans. The docking bay buzzed with noise in 100 languages. Jack stepped off his transport, his bag slung over one shoulder. He scanned the crowd, almost expecting to see Claire's face, even though he knew it was impossible. His first match was scheduled for the next day. He spent the evening in the station's observation deck, staring out at the stars. Somewhere, out there, she was living her life. Somewhere, she might be looking up at the same stars. Not knowing he was thinking about her. The next day, Jack stepped into the tournament arena. His opponent was a reptilian fighter named Vrash, a veteran with scales like armor and claws that could cut steel. The announcer's voice boomed. In this corner, the human who shocked the galaxy, Jack Rourke. The crowd roared. Jack's name was out there now, traveling across worlds. He wondered if Claire might be hearing it at that exact moment. The fight began fast. Vrash lunged, his claws slashing through the air. Jack dodged, his movements calm and measured. He'd studied Vrash's fights the night before. He knew the weak spots behind the left knee, under the jaw. 2 minutes in, Jack found his opening. A quick step, a twist, and Vrash hit the floor, unable to stand. The crowd exploded with cheers. Cameras zoomed in on Jack's face, broadcasting his victory to the galaxy. Back in the locker room, Jack sat on the bench, catching his breath. Reached for his cum again. This time, he almost pressed send on the message to Claire ... instead. He set the device down and stared at the floor. He didn't know why it was so hard. He could fight creatures twice his size without fear, but the thought of hearing her voice or worse, not hearing it, made him hesitate. Over the next few days, Jack kept winning. Each fight brought more attention. His name appeared on tournament rankings, in news feeds, and on betting boards. Rin kept telling him he was becoming a legend, but every night, when the noise died down, the same emptiness crept in. One night, after another victory, Jack was stopped by a reporter. "Jack, people are calling you the pride of humanity. Do you think you're proving something to the galaxy?" Jack thought about the question. "I'm proving that humans don't quit," he said. "We hold on to what matters, no matter how far away it is." It wasn't just about the fights. It was about her. The semifinals came faster than Jack expected. His opponent was a massive, six-limbed creature with a brutal record. The fight was long and punishing. Jack took heavy hits, his ribs aching, blood on his lip, but he didn't stop. Every time he thought about giving in, he imagined Claire watching. Somewhere, maybe proud, maybe surprised, maybe just remembering who he was. That thought pushed him forward. In the final seconds, Jack landed the decisive blow, knocking his opponent unconscious. The crowd's roar shook the arena. That night, alone in his quarters, Jack finally picked up his cum. He didn't open the old voice note. Instead, he recorded a new one. "Claire," he said quietly, "it's been a long time. I'm doing something out here, something I hope you might see. But even if you don't, I just want you to know you are always part of the reason I kept going. I hope you're doing okay. I hope maybe we can talk again." This time, he didn't delete it. He sent it. The message icon blinked once, then showed delivered. Jack stared at it for a long time, his heart pounding harder than in any fight. He didn't know if she would answer, but for the first time in years, he felt like the distance between them might not be impossible to cross, because humans, no matter how far they traveled, never stopped reaching for the people who mattered. Jack didn't sleep much that night. The small cum device sat on the table beside his bed, its message light glowing faintly. Delivered, but there was no reply. He kept telling himself it hadn't been that long. Only a few hours. People had busy lives. Claire was probably working or asleep, or just hadn't checked her messages yet. Still, the silence was heavier than he expected. By morning, the Prime Tournament's final match was all anyone on the station could talk about. The corridors buzzed with bets, predictions, and bold claims. Jack avoided most of it, eating a quiet breakfast and running through his fight plan in his head. His final opponent was a warrior named Corval, the reigning champion of the Kunlun Prime Tournament for 5 years straight. Corval wasn't just strong. He was careful, patient, and ruthless. Many of his matches ended without a single wasted movement. When Rin found him in the prep room, the little alien's tail was flicking nervously. "You're ready for this?" he asked. Jack shrugged. "As ready as I can be." "You could walk away now," Rin said. "No shame in it. You've already made a name for yourself. People will remember you." Jack looked down at the cum device in his hand. Not the people who matter. The arena for the final was larger than any Jack had fought in before. The floor was a grid of stone tiles, each slightly raised, designed to shift under pressure. Above, thousands of spectators leaned forward in their seats. Every major news feed in the sector had a camera in place. When Corval entered, the crowd roared. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his armor marked with symbols of past victories. His eyes locked on Jack, cold and assessing. The announcer's voice boomed, introducing them both. Jack barely listened. His focus was on the space between them, the few meters that, in a matter of seconds, would decide everything. The signal came. Corval didn't rush in. He circled, testing Jack's movements. Jack mirrored him, his body loose, waiting. The shifting tiles underfoot added an extra layer of unpredictability. Minutes passed. The crowd grew restless. Then Corval struck, his movement so fast it almost blurred. Jack dodged the first blow, but caught the second, a sharp hit to the ribs. That forced the air from his lungs. Pain flared, but Jack didn't let it slow him. He stayed on his feet, kept moving. Every breath was a reminder of how badly he wanted this, not just the win, but the message it would send. He imagined Claire watching, seeing that he wasn't just another human lost in the galaxy. The fight was brutal. Corval's blows were heavy and precise. Twice, Jack barely avoided being pinned. Sweat dripped down his face, stinging his eyes. His ribs ached with every movement. But humans had something no one else in the galaxy seemed to understand. Stubbornness. The kind that didn't fade just because something hurt. In the 9th minute, Jack saw his chance. Corval stepped forward, shifting his weight onto a tile that tilted just slightly. Jack moved in, faster than he had all fight, twisting low, and driving his shoulder into Corval's midsection. The bigger fighter stumbled, just for a second, but it was enough. Jack grabbed him at the base of the spine, twisted sharply, and dropped him to the ground. The arena went silent. Corval didn't. Get up. The silence broke into a roar that shook the walls. Cameras zoomed in on Jack as he stood over the fallen champion. He didn't raise his arms or shout. He just looked up at the nearest camera, his breathing heavy, and held the gaze for a moment. Somewhere, he hoped, Claire was seeing this. Back. In the locker room, medics checked his ribs while reporters shouted questions from the hallway. Jack ignored them all, sitting quietly with the cum device in his hand. No new messages. For a while, he just stared at it. Then, before he could overthink it, he recorded another short note. Hey, if you saw that, well, I guess you know I'm still alive. I hope you're doing well, wherever you are. If you want to talk, I'd like that. He sent it. That night, a celebration filled the station. Music echoed through the corridors, and the smell of alien food hung in the air. Rin tried to drag him out to join the party, but Jack stayed in his quarters. Sitting by the observation window, the stars stretched out forever, cold and bright. Somewhere among them, Claire was living her life. He didn't know if she would ever answer, but as he looked out at the endless sky, he felt something he hadn't in a long time hoped. And next morning, the celebration was over. The space station was quieter now, though repair drones still floated through the halls, cleaning up from the night before. Jack woke early, feeling the dull ache in his ribs from the fight with Corval. He sat up slowly, rubbing his eyes, and reached for his cum device. The message light was blinking. His heart kicked hard. He opened it. It was from Claire. Jack, I saw the fight. I can't believe it's really you. I don't even know where to start. He read the words again and again, almost not believing they were real. After so long, she had finally answered. For a few moments, he just sat there, staring at the screen. He wanted to reply immediately, but there were too many things to say. He didn't want to waste the moment with the wrong words. Before he could decide, his door beeped and slid open. Rin stood there, looking unusually serious. "We've got trouble," the little alien said. "What kind of trouble?" Jack asked, slipping the cum into his pocket. "Council trouble," Rin said. "Word is, some of the worlds whose champions you defeated aren't happy. They say your win was dishonorable. They're demanding you fight again, this time in something called the Blood Circuit." Jack frowned. "Never heard of it." "You wouldn't have," Rin said. "It's not for show. It's for settling grudges. No rules, no safety limits." Jack's first thought wasn't about himself. It was about Claire. What would she think if she heard he'd gone into something like that? Would she understand why? Would she even hear about it? They met in a shadowy hangar deep in the station. The blood circuit organizers were waiting, tall, masked figures who spoke in low voices. They explained the rules, which were simple: survive. Jack didn't like the look of the place. The arena was smaller than usual, surrounded not by seats, but by standing walls of spectators, mercenaries, bounty hunters, and other fighters who weren't welcome in official tournaments. His opponent was already there, a huge, four-eyed alien named Varen, armed with serrated gauntlets. The crowd murmured as Jack stepped in, sizing him up like they were deciding how long he would last. The fight started without ceremony. Varen came in fast, his gauntlets flashing. Jack dodged the first swing, but felt the second graze his side. Pain flared, but he stayed calm, focusing on the alien's rhythm. He was smaller, lighter, and faster. That was the human advantage: adaptability. Jack shifted his stance, changed his timing, and waited for the one mistake. When it came, he moved. A sharp feint, a low sidestep, and his elbow slammed into Varen's jaw. The alien staggered, roaring. Jack pressed in, landing a series of precise blows until Varen dropped to one knee. The crowd erupted not in cheers, but in a hungry, dangerous kind of approval. After the fight, Rin caught up to him in the hallway. "You didn't have to take that match," he said. "I did," Jack replied. "If I back down now, they'll just keep coming. Better to show them I'm not going anywhere." But the truth was, part of him also wanted to show Claire. He wanted her to see that he wasn't just surviving, he was proving something. To himself and to the galaxy. Back in his quarters, he pulled out the "Come again." He stared at her message, then started typing. "Claire, I don't know where to start either, but I never forgot you. I've been moving from one place to another, trying to figure out who I am out here. Lately, I think I've been fighting not just for me, but because I hoped you might see it." He hesitated, then added, "If you want, I could come to your world. I'd like to see you again." He sent it before he could second-guess himself. That night, he walked to the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass. Somewhere out there, her reply was on its way. Or maybe it wasn't. He didn't know. But he did know this: humans didn't give up. Just because something felt far away. And Jack Rourke had no intention of giving up now. Jack didn't hear back from Claire for 2 days. Each morning, he woke and checked his comb before doing anything else. Each night, he set it beside his bed, hoping to see the light blinking. But it stayed dark. He told himself she just needed time. It had been years since they last spoke. Maybe she was thinking about what to say. Still, the silence hurt. Rin noticed. "You're quieter than usual," the fox-like alien said as they walked through the station market. "Just tired," Jack replied. Rin tilted his head. "You fought 3 blood circuit matches in a week. You're not tired from fighting. You're tired from waiting." Jack didn't answer. That afternoon, the council sent for him. When he entered their chamber, the air was heavy with tension. Holomaps floated in the center, showing several worlds in red. A tall insectoid delegate spoke first. "Human Rourke, we have a crisis. A fleet from the Drakthir Dominion has entered neutral space. They're taking colonies. They're not stopping." Jack frowned. "And you want me to fight them?" "We want you to lead the defense," another said. "Your victories have inspired many. They will follow you." Jack hesitated. Leading a defense meant time, danger, and travel to the edge of the Ville sector. It also meant not seeing Claire any time soon. But walking away would mean leaving innocent people to face the Dominion alone. That night, Jack stood in his quarters, staring at the stars through the observation window. His comb lay on the table. He thought about sending Claire another message explaining the situation, telling her he might not be able to come soon. But he didn't want to make promises he couldn't keep. Instead, he just typed, "Got called into something big. Ho, we can talk soon." He sent it and left to prepare. The trip to the front took 3 days. Jack spent the time studying reports, planning strategies, and training with the mixed force he'd been given: humans, aliens, and even a few former rivals from the tournament. When they arrived, the scene was worse than he expected. The Dominion fleet was massive, their ships blocking the skies over the targeted colony. On the ground, their soldiers marched through the streets, forcing civilians into holding areas. Jack gathered his team. "We hit fast, hit hard, and make them think twice about ever coming back. If we move like they expect, we lose, so we move like humans, unpredictable." The battle began at dawn. Jack's small force struck from 3 directions at once, confusing the Dominion troops. Humans and aliens fought side by side, using speed and adaptability to outmaneuver the heavier enemy units. Jack himself led the strike on the command center. His ribs still ached from old fights, but he pushed through, using the same focus he had in the arena. Every move was calculated, every strike aimed at ending the fight quickly. By midday, the Dominion was retreating. The colony was freed out as the civilians returned to their homes. A group of alien soldiers approached Jack. One of them, a young recruit, saluted and said, "We thought humans were just another weak species, but you don't give up." Jack nodded. "That's how we survive." But inside, his thoughts were already drifting back to Claire. That night, as the camp quieted, Jack finally checked his comb. The light was blinking. His heart jumped. It was from Claire. "I don't know why you're suddenly in my life again, Jack, but I'm glad. I don't understand everything you're doing out there, but I've been watching the reports. I'm proud of you, and yes, I'd like to see you again when you can." He read it 3 times, a slow smile spreading across his face. For the first time in years, the distance between them didn't feel so big. Jack looked out at the stars. The war wasn't over, and there would be more fights ahead. But now, he had something to carry with him: her words, her voice in his mind. Humans didn't just fight for survival. They fought for the people they cared about, no matter how far away they were. And Jack Rourke knew one thing for certain: he was going to see Claire again.